What's up, everybody? It's another one of those damn Jew Bagel top 10. It's not a top 10, it's a 5. It's top 5. Today, we're gonna go over the top 5 most disappointing... What is this? What kind of... Okay, the top 5 most disappointing early game NAT 5 pulls. What does that even mean? What is top 5 most disappointing early game NAT 5 pulls? Whatever you don't want. Whatever you don't want is really the most disappointing, right? So these are 5 top tier monsters that do not show their true colors until late game, until your high level PvP. These are the things that, like, you're level 20 and you pull this and you're like, what am I supposed to do with this? He does no damage, he doesn't do any heals, he doesn't whatever. I don't know why I'm excited about him. He seems like he sucks. He seems like he's like a 2-star. What is this nonsense? Alright, so these are the 5 that I really feel have gotten the most complaints from a lot of you guys. And it's kind of justified. I understand your frustration. You're like, man, I really wish I got a Zaiross. I wish I got a Maron. I wish I got something crazy. And I got this, and I'm like, what am I gonna do with it? This does not help me in this stage of the game. All right. And I understand. When I first started the game, I thought monsters sucked when they didn't do a bunch of damage, like crazy damage, like oh my god, or crazy skills that got all these debuffs and stuff. But I was like, oh my god, like chimeras. I'm like, chimeras are the greatest NAT 5. Chimeras really are really good NAT 5s. But I looked at things like this, and I was like, what do I need this for? Okay, let's go over number 5. Okay, number 5, Triton, the Wind Sea Emperor. Okay. So you're thinking like, oh, Triton, yeah, sucks because he's got no huge damage, he doesn't do heal, he doesn't do a whole bunch of crazy stuff. If you don't need a cleanser, he's not really too useful. But, late game, when talking about late game, he's got a lot of potential because late game you have all these Chloes, you have all these shield and well rune teams, and not only can you cleanse them, but you can cleanse them and then decrease their attack gauge by 25%, giving your team the advantage to move next, or hopefully move next, right? Hopefully move next, as long as you have something else going on behind that. So Triton's he's gotta be number 5 on the list. He does still have 2 AoEs. I hear he does at least do some damage, but yeah, I think he's got, if you get him early game, you're probably like, what do I do with him? If you have him late game, you're like, ooh, I could use Galleon and some nukers. Yeah. Okay. So how to rune him? I think I see a lot of people like to do Despair with a lot of speed. I think speed is key. You can do Despair Will. You can do Revenge. Despair Revenge. You can do Swift Will. You can do a few different things. A few different things. But on cleansers, a lot of times, people like to do Despair on cleansers because you have a guaranteed cleanse. You're like, the monster's beneficial effects are getting taken off. I may as well get that value out of this AoE that stuns at the same time. Because, you know, what are you going to put Despair runes on? It's really good to put them on stuff that you already know is going to cleanse something. Okay, so he's number 5. And there's actually, most of these have the same late game PvP benefits. Player versus player. Now you take something like Triton into Dragon's B10 and not really going to be too beneficial. You take him into Giant's B10, like, yeah, he can do some stuff. He can remove beneficial effects. He can reduce attack gauge, AoE, but he's not going to be your, like, big game-changing Giant's B10, Dragon's B10 Necropolis monster. So he's really not going to help too much early game, but when you get to late game, he's beautiful. Alright. Then we have another, number 4, Chiwu! Chiwu, the Fire Pioneer. Okay, I have him, I enjoy him, but I'm late game. Okay, he doesn't have a ton of nuke, he doesn't have a ton of debuffs, he doesn't heal. You have a 24% speed leader for everywhere, which is nice. But if you don't need cleanse, you're like, what am I gonna do with Chiwu? No one has any beneficial effects. Like, what am I going to use them for? Giants? Like, no, like, not really. He's great late game. He's great against Rena, Theomars, Chloe. He's got a speed lead, which is beautiful. You see him a lot in late game, like high level arena defense, you see a Chiwu and a Ryan, you see a Chiwu and a Bernard, so you get the turn advantage. Chiwu usually has the spare will. I'm trying to give you guys rune builds for these monsters as well. If you're like, I don't know how to, I have one of these, I don't know how to rune it. But Chiwu usually has the spare. Again, he's a cleanser. A lot of cleansers have despair. Not all. We'll talk about it in a second. But he's good against Rina, Theomars. He's good against Rina, especially late game, because you're like, oh, let me take that Rina shield off, and then let me put the little bat wings. What is this? The little bat wings on that stop her from getting her shield back up, so you can keep hitting her. It's 2 turns too. Same thing with Theomars as well. Beautiful against them. Chloe, Veladjul is also great against Will and Shield Rune teams. I mean, it's super, super good late game, but in the beginning of the game, you're like, I'm not fighting against monsters that have these things on them. What do I need to cleanse? I don't need to cleanse anything. He heals too. I mean, he's sometimes really annoying in in defense. Like, he keeps healing my team. Sometimes he's violent, but usually he's the spare will. Mine is the spare shield. So Chiwu, again, another cleanser for number 4. Okay. Number 3, God, it's gonna have to be another cleanser. It's gonna have to be. You see the common thing, the thing that people early game are like, I don't need this. What do I do with this? They think that these cleansers are not good, and it's a thing. It's a thing. Okay, so number 3 is Juno. Okay, so Juno does not do any super damage. She's, oh my God, I got Claytano. I'm gonna give him props. His Juno wrecked me. His Juno, I fought him in arena this week. His Juno wrecked me, and tip of my beanie to you, Claytano. So Juno, no, but you see another thing that you see a lot in high level play. She's got no super damage. She's got no heal. She just, well, no. She does have a heal. She does have a heal. Her passive does heal. Can be annoying, but she doesn't have, like, that needs to be a condition. Like, if something happens to you, then, oh, look what I can do with the passive, but the passive doesn't always come into play. But you can combo her fantastic in arena defense. Usually she's, the thing is, okay, you can't debuff her too much, or she basically is invincible. I don't know if you've seen, I posted a video. It's a 20-minute 3-on-1 against the Juno in guild battles from a while ago, and it's 20 minutes. Kept putting debuffs on. I had 3 monsters. They kept debuffing her, and she kept healing and healing and healing and healing and healing. She would not die. I had it on auto. I wasn't actually playing for 20 minutes. I would have given up after a minute. I'd been like, okay, I took the wrong team. But 20 minutes, put it on auto, clicked record, and she just soloed 3 monsters. It's ridiculous. So how to rune her? Despair Nemesis usually is the runes for her, for Juno, with high speed. High speed. And there's a lot of late game like Juno and Praha and things like that are comboed with an Orion, or comboed with that are despair, and either comboed with an Orion or comboed with a Bernard. This way they're hoping for the turn advantage, and then their Juno or Praha will move next and AoE cleanse and stun. That's why they're usually on despair. So they're hoping for that. That messes up the synergy between the enemy team. So that's one of the reasons that you see a lot of Junos in high level play, and she is a pain. Because I mean, what do you get? Like, you can, if she's a super tank, and you gotta ruin her for like really fast, really tanky, and she's annoying and difficult to heal. So I mean, there's things you can kill her with, things like Kali. You can kill her with things like, you can use destroy runes on her too, to keep whittling her down, and then eventually just kill her with that. But she's annoying. She is annoying. You could use single target like the high elementals to counter her. So like, but then again, also, like, you gotta do something to make sure that they attack first, otherwise she's gonna AoE cleanse all their buffs that attack power buff. So yeah, Juno is better than people realize, but she doesn't do any super damage, and she doesn't have that heal that Praha is, so people find her inferior to Praha. That passive, man. Passive is great. You see a lot of her in late game. Number 2, Leo, the Wind Dragon Knight. Okay, I know you guys like Leica so good, and Chao is so good. Chao can solo Giant Speed 10, not Giant Speed 10, Giant Speed 9. We've seen Chao solo Giant Speed 9. He does fantastic. You can use him in Dragon Speed 10 too. He does good damage. He even got the buff. He got a buff / change. Everyone's happy about it after the change though. So. Leo, let's talk about Leo. Okay, for early game, his passive really does not do much. When it limits everyone's speed, you're like, yay! No one has a lot of speed anyway. I don't have really crazy speed on these runes. I'm not going up against teams that have crazy speed. Why do I need Leo? I don't understand how he benefits me. The reason he gains, he's really another high-level PvP monster. He gains that, oh yeah, when you're going up against some of these speed teams where they're like speed leader and then Orion or Bernard or Chloe. That's why a lot of times people high level like to do Will on their Orion, Megan, Bernard, Chloe, because then Leo, it kind of counters Leo. Leo is really a momentum breaker, right? So you have this enemy team that's supposed to do, okay, speed leader, and then Orion, and then Orion's gonna move first, or Bernard's gonna move first, and then buff the attack age of everyone. Well, when you Leo and you hit that Bernard or that Orion with Leo, reduce the attack age, that throws everything else off. Then you could use your attack age buffer next, and then you get the turn advantage. So Leo's basically, unless they have will runes, it's basically a guaranteed, you get the first turn, you decide what's gonna happen first. Which can, first turn advantage is huge. First turn advantage is huge. So how do we want to rune Leo? Okay. I mean, really, first turn advantage is how a lot of high level arena teams work. Not all of them, but a lot of them. So we have Violent Revenge. I gasped. Violent Revenge, Vampire Revenge. There's usually I see Vampire Revenge, but a lot of times Violent Revenge. I mean, I don't know. Okay, I don't know which one is more prevalent, Vampire Revenge or Violent Revenge. There's other things you could put them on, other 2 sets if you don't want to do Revenge. But I see a lot of hybrid Leos. I see a lot of tanky Leos. Leo really doesn't need any speed. So if you have a lot of good runes, you're like, I have all these good vampire runes, but there's no speed on them. Who am I gonna put them on? There you go. There you go. You're Leo because everyone has them, right? Yeah, right. Yeah, right. So vampire. I see a lot of vampire builds for Leo. His second skill ignores defense, so I think he's not horrible early game. I just think that people aren't really seeing his true potential early game because they're like, yeah, if he gets low enough, I can still ignore defense and do this huge damage. So they're still seeing the benefit from that, but they're not seeing the benefit from his passive because speed doesn't come too much into play until you've been playing for a few months. Alright, so that's what I think. Yeah, but I see a lot of people, I have a few guildmates that have, actually I have a lot of guildmates that have Leo. And I still don't have one. But they like to use hybrid Leo, like HP, crit damage attack, HP, crit damage, HP. Just because it gives them more staying power. And you could do attack, crit damage, attack, but he's going to ignore defense anyway with the second skill. How much damage do you really need to do? Do you really need to do, like, ungodly amounts of damage? Or would you rather have that staying power of having him being super tanky, and then when he gets low on HP, he still does crazy damage? So that's why I see a lot of hybrids on him. Make sure he does enough damage to like go crazy, but also make sure he has a lot of staying power. But you need to use him with a speed, an attack gauge buffer too. So I see things like Orion being used with him, things like Vertiheel being used with him, Megan, Bernard. Okay. Stuff like that. And then we have number one, Tiana, Wind Polar Queen. Alright, so, sucks early game, because, yes, sucks, because she basically screws up anytime you want to do any dungeons run. You stick Tiana in there, and it's like almost a guarantee. It's like, this is how to fail in dungeons run. Let me strip all my attack buffs, all my speed buffs, all my defense buffs. Let me buff, like, strip everything, and then you know all those debuffs that I did on my on the giant or the dragon or whatever, like the attack down, the defense break, the speed break. Let me just take all those off too. So all the advantage I have and all the disadvantage that they have, let me just screw all that up and be like, here, be stronger, I'll be weaker, not a problem. So yeah, she really throws a wrench into early gameplay. You're like, why would I ever want this monster? Oh my god, it sucks so bad. Why? Ah, man. For high level PvP though, when your opponent has a ton of will runes, when your opponent has a ton of shield runes, when your opponent has, you know, Chloe, whatever, she can't be resisted. Okay, so she does 3 things. I don't really care about her first skill. I don't care as much about her second skill. She is there for her third skill, and that is it. She is there. She is a combo. That is a combo. And she is one of the best combos in the game. She's fantastic with Galleon, Tiana, Galleon, and whatever. 2 nukers. Oh my god, everyone's dead. That's what you see a lot of high level players doing that. Okay. So what happens? She cleanses all the beneficial effects, all the will and shield from your opponent's team. Then any debuffs that they did to you. For example, let's say their Juno moved, let's say their Praha moved, and then took all your stuff off, took all your beneficial effects off, and stunned like your other 3 members. Like, oh great, that would suck. That's basically a game over, you lose, except that you have Tiana, she didn't get stunned. What happened? She uses her third skill. Your whole team is not stunned anymore. They have no dots on them, and then their whole team has no beneficial effects on them either. Then you get the turn advantage. Then she boosts your attack gauge up. It's a fantastic combo. It is a fantastic combo. It is game winning with Galleon and 2 nukers. Is usually how she's ruined. How she's ruined is usually how she's paired up. What she's paired up with. And usually on Tiana teams, there's a ton of will and a ton of shield, and you're like, why would Tiana teams? She's just gonna take all that stuff off her. Yeah, but it's kind of not for the. She's usually ruined. She's a lot of times she's ruined with weird stuff like shield and will and nemesis. And usually shield and will. Usually, like, she's not really on. You don't need her on stun, right? You don't need a despair on her. But she's there. She's really good to put shield and will and nemesis on. Definitely will. Because you don't want her to get stunned or crowd controlled, because then it breaks your whole combo. So yeah, and Swift too. Swift is really good on her. Make sure she's got a lot of speed. Make sure that your team doesn't get interrupted. If you have Tiana, you have Galleon, make sure that there's enough speed, there's just a little bit of speed difference in between them, because she is going to buff that attack gauge, but you want to make sure that's a combo that they go right after the other. So, I mean, early game, oh god, she is more, she's worse for you than she's going to be good, but late game, she's just for that one combo. That's what she's there for. She's just for that one combo, and she's fantastic because she provides a cleanse for your team. She will remove all the enemy's debuffs, and she has an attack gauge buff for your entire team. So she just gives so much. There's so much value in that one skill doing those 3 things at the same time. So she's like a verti-heal, right? She's like a verti-heal. She's like a Aquila, and she's like a. Let's see, and she's like a maybe Lisa, because she doesn't do heal like Konamiya does, but she does like a Lisa, right? So she's like verti-heal, Aquila, and Lisa, because Aquila removes the enemy's everything. But Aquila can still be resisted, Tiana cannot. She has 3 great things in that skill. That skill's crazy OP. But early game, it's gonna wreck you. It's really very, very, very situational. It's very situational dependent, and it's for PvP, and you need that right team. With not just Galleon, but really, really gotta Galleon. Okay, guys. All right, so that's the top 5 most disappointing early game NAT 5 pulls that are really, it's not disappointing monsters, it's top 5 most disappointing early game ones, because they're not going to benefit you so much early game, but when you get into late game, you're going to be like, thank God I got this monster saved me so much. What do you guys think? What was your monster that you maybe thought was disappointing? I think stuff like, I was considering putting stuff like Jameer, the Wind Dragon on here, because a lot of, I mean, if you're just using Jameer by himself, he's like, what does he do? He doesn't do too much. So I was considering putting him on here as well. But what else do you guys think should have made the list? Let me know in your comments below, and I will see you, as always, in the next video.